We dive deeper into LaMelo Ball's season debut, plus we learn some more information on his previous injury. Then it's time for a little front court fodder, all today on Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast, and that includes YouTube, just like always. Today's episode is brought to you by Dave, not Dave Hoppin' or Dave Hoopin', but Dave. It's an app where you can download, and you can go to dave.com/LockedOnNBA. You could get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less.
Whoa.
No credit check. No late fees. Thanks to Dave for bringing you today's episode. That's Doug Branson. He's also bringing the heat for today's episode. Find him on his substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. And then you can listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Sports Radio 92.7 FM. So we didn't talk about it in the episode yesterday following the victory against the Hawks in the season debut. It was glorious. Wanted to focus on the positives there. And there were certainly some positives to talk about with LaMelo, but not the greatest game. I don't think even the LaMelo stands would tell you that this was his greatest game. Goes 0 for 8 in the first half, and I thought, all right, I remember 2 years ago against the Indiana Pacers in that season opener, it wasn't an 0 for performance in the first half, but LaMelo exploded in the third and fourth quarter, scored 30, led them to a win, a tight win against the Pacers. Didn't really happen against the Hawks. Third quarter, went on a little mini run, helped them get back into the game until the fourth quarter. They separated themselves with the help of Brandon Miller. Just hit me with your thoughts on LaMelo Ball, Doug. What did you think of his performance overall?
I think he's obviously not fully back. I mean, he might be fully healthy. The things might be fully healed. But he didn't look right in the preseason, just in terms of his ability to get to the rim, his comfort level. I mean, he just didn't look like he was having a lot of fun out there. I mean, we've watched LaMelo Ball a long enough time to know when he's really feeling it and when he's not. And I would say, we were getting 75 to 80% LaMelo Ball, and Clifford had kind of mentioned that, hey, he's getting back, he's getting his rhythm back, and I just don't think he's all the way there. But we've also witnessed this with LaMelo Ball, where he can go 2 quarters and just not hit anything, and then all of a sudden explode. I mean, had he played a few more minutes, he could have had a triple-double. I mean, he was 4 rebounds away from a triple-double in this game. He hit 4 threes, and those 4 threes were crucial to getting the Hornets back in to this game against the Hawks. He's not all the way there. It's a little interesting that the Hornets can win a game without him being all the way there. I think that could be a positive to take away.
Oh, yeah, big time, especially with the turnovers, having as many as you did, not shooting well. Think about that. If you were to tell me that LaMelo Ball had this kind of performance, they shot under 30% from 3 on still pretty good volume, and they had a bunch of turnovers, that's a recipe for disaster. Even if it is against the Atlanta Hawks, who weren't very good at defense last year. One thing about the Atlanta Hawks, they were good at offense. They were scoring a lot of points, and it was a trash shooting night from Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, partly because I think the half-court defense was good, Mark Williams in particular, but also I think that's always going to help them, and I think some of that was because of the Hornets doing. With LaMelo, you look at him too, did you find he averaged 35 minutes a game last year, Doug, and he only played 31 in the season opener? It's not enough to sound the alarms, but it's definitely enough to get my attention, especially when there are a few other players that played more than him last night. And then, Doug, Steve Clifford tells us about how long he's been cleared to play. Only 6 weeks.
That's crazy.
That was not available at the beginning of the season, nor did we know that at the beginning of the preseason.
That's total shenanigans, but that's what we've come to expect from this team. They just wait till the last possible second to reveal information, and they must think that gives them a strategic advantage because they do this often. They really flirt, I think, with the spirit of the rules around what everyone has to know about these injuries. But yeah, I mean, we could have, I think, if we had really thought about it, gleaned that information from what we saw and didn't see. I mean, we saw a lot of LaMelo Ball in nice clothes and doing a lot of fun stuff off the court, but we didn't see in the offseason, even after they said, hey, he's 100% healthy, we didn't see a lot of him like doing any drills, playing any pickup. It doesn't necessarily mean that he wasn't, but I think now that we know this information, it makes a lot of sense that we didn't see that. And so now he's getting back in the groove.
With LaMelo is he actually does have to take the picture of him working out in order to really have worked out. That's what you're saying. Because now if he doesn't take the picture, we're going to ask, is he healthy? Did he really work out? Did he really play? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, if a LaFrance doesn't fall in the woods, does it really make a sound? That's what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. Here's what I would like to know, Walker. Did you notice from LaMelo that in the first part of this game, really throughout the first half when he was struggling, he was focused almost singularly on putting the ball on the floor and driving and trying to draw fouls? And the referees were not giving him the whistle, and a lot of those turnovers resulted in him looking for fouls on the drive, and it wasn't going well. And it's like he came out of the locker room and said, beef all that, I'm not doing that anymore. And you saw the 4 threes, but a lot of it was on either pull up because he was open. He got the one off the pin down from Mark, and so that was catch and shoot. So, I mean, it didn't look like in the second half he was trying to do that anymore. You've talked a lot about in the past that LaMelo doesn't have like that straight line speed like Terry does. Terry can just so easily get by defenders because he has that that fast twitch situation going on where he can put the accelerator down and get to the rim. LaMelo has to use craftiness, and I'm just thinking like maybe the rhythm isn't back, maybe the craftiness isn't all the way there. At least I hope that it's like injury related or at least groove related, because if it's something physical, then I get a little bit worried.
So let's talk about what changed from game one to what we wanted to see change, what we saw from him last year. He shot 10.6 3-pointers per game last year. He shot 11 in this one. He didn't shoot many free throws last season, only 3.4. Well, he shot 4 free throws in this game while he was trying to be a little more aggressive. I didn't see him take the ball up strong with 2 hands. I think there were some hip shots from LaMelo, especially the one that I can think of with his left hand where he just didn't. I don't think he welcomed the contact as much. And so this is both true, right? And maybe this is chicken or the egg, but I think both are true. Are the refs looking for LaMelo to take it up stronger in order to give him that call? And are the refs just, completely, they're just not blowing the whistle, which we argued too. When LaMelo got the tech last year, we were fans of it. We just thought it was ridiculous that he wasn't getting any calls, and that still needs to be fixed. I also don't think LaMelo is helping himself as much. I mean, Doug, bottom line, he shot 15 shots last in this game against Atlanta. 11 of them were threes. So there were only 4 field goal attempts at the actual rim. And I know you're saying, yeah, there was this concerted effort at the beginning, but man, if it was there at the beginning, he certainly abandoned it pretty quickly. And maybe that is because of the injury. It would make total sense that he abandoned that because of the injury. All the sense in the world. But it's what happened again. Still an effective basketball player. I mean, that's kind of the guy he is. He can affect the game in a lot of ways. And you saw that even still last night. 10 assists, goes on that mini run in the third quarter. But yeah, these are the things that we've been asking for. These are the things we've been wanting to see change for him to get to consistent all-star, no-brainer, to all-NBA. And he didn't do it last night. He didn't show that.
Well, it's not just us asking for it. I mean, Steve Clifford has mentioned his rim efficiency has to get better. He's 2 seasons ago, he said he's got to get more free throw attempts, because those are the things when you look at your all-NBA level players, guards or forwards, that's what they do. They get to the free throw line a ton. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum, these guys that score 40 burgers on the reg, they're not doing it because they're just great jump shooters. They're doing it because they can score. Wait, did you laugh at me?
40 burgers on the reg is like top tier. That's like our old buddy Dan Lebedard. If you say 40 burgers on the reg, are you a jackass or are you an irredeemable jackass?
Put it on the poll. 40 burgers on the reg. So to do that, we know what he needs to do. And so the question is, Walker, and I don't have an answer for this, and it's game one. People could listen to this or watch this and fairly say, guys, hold on, it's game one. There are 81 more of these things to go. He was just cleared a month and a half ago. Let's everyone relax. I hear you. All I'm saying is that if this continues, then it's going to put a serious cap on the guy that they just gave a max level, all NBA level, MVP level contract to. Like, if he can't get to the rim and he can't get fouled, it's not that he can't impact winning, because like I said, he almost had a triple-double. There's a lot of things he can do, but if he can't do that one thing that he tried and failed to do in the first game, then, it does put a ceiling on what he can become.
Well, and we've talked about Steve Clifford, big rhythm guy. You will hear it in almost every press conference.
On the reg.
Especially talking about on the reg. You're gonna hear Steve Clifford discuss rhythm on the reg for sure. And here he is talking about it with LaMelo, especially after an injury. It takes time. And so you hate to have that caveat constantly, because we had to speak with LaMelo, goodness gracious, LaMelo under that caveat constantly last year. You just hope to avoid it this season. Look, it's not like he suffered another injury. I'll be honest, I just didn't expect it to have affected him up until really training camp preseason started. But that's my own ignorance. I just didn't know. And the Hornets didn't let us know. They just said he's 100% cleared to play. He's good. And they didn't say, and he was just cleared a week ago. They didn't give us that info. So we learned after the first game when Steve Clifford came to LaMelo's defense on some of that stuff. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to a little front court fodder, shall we? Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Don't go to sleep on the Hornets just yet.
Brandon Miller's in the front court. PJ Washington, a couple of guys that deserved some game balls yesterday. What about Miles Bridges? Is there anything to take away from the first game and how they can tread water until he comes back? If he comes back, we'll talk about the front court in a moment. Now, before we talk about Dave, this episode is brought to you by Dave. And we all know at one time or another, we all need a little financial help. That's why Dave is great. Dave can get you cash when you need a hand between paychecks and can help you build credit by settling extra cash advances on time. So what you can do is go to Dave. Dave is the banking app that's leveling the financial playing field. When you download Dave, you could get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. It's part of Dave's extra cash account. Advance the money you need with no interest and then settle up later. Extra cash gives you more money to buy groceries, fill your tank, finally get your car repaired, or catch up on bills without having to wait for your next paycheck. You can even build credit when you settle up on time. Millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app to make their finances easier. So if you're in a pinch, get the help you need by downloading Dave. Download Dave today at dave.com/LockedOnNBA. That's dave.com/LockedOnNBA. You could get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. Download the Dave app now or go to dave.com/LockedOnNBA. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Eligibility criteria and instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by Evolve, member FDIC. This episode is also brought to you by Jace Medical. Jace Medical does provide the Jace case. They now offer customizability for your Jace case with dozens of add-on medications, and you can choose the medications that best fit you and your family's unique needs. Go to jacemedical.com and enter code LOCKEDON at checkout for a $20 discount on your order. That's promo code LOCKEDON at jacemedical.com. They can help you out. Again, jacemedical.com. Visit them. Promo code Locked On. All right, Locked On Hornets ahead. One thing we didn't really focus on with LaMelo, we did offensively, some of the stuff that changed, right? Did you see anything that changed defensively with Melo? Doug, what was your evaluation there?
I thought he started the game really well defensively. I think there are always going to be good and bad moments with LaMelo defensively because I don't expect him to ever become like a consistent, great defender, elite defender. Like, I just think there's too much that is going to be asked of him offensively to also expect him to be someone that just never makes a mistake on the defensive end and is somebody that's going to compete for like a Defensive Player of the Year award. That's just never going to be him. So you're going to be looking for, hey, can he give you some good moments on defense, especially to start a game, to set the tone. And his matchup was DeJounte Murray. I mean, look, the Hawks are going to present maybe one of the top 3 toughest matchups for the Hornets in terms of backcourt offensive firepower, going up against 2 guys in LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier that have had their past issues with keeping guards in front. This is going to be one of the tougher matchups. And I thought both Terry and LaMelo purported themselves well, especially early in the game. I mean, LaMelo was downing those DeJounte Murray screens, keeping him out of the middle, keeping him towards the right side of the floor, and was effective. There were moments when he fell asleep, when he just let a guy blow by him. I just think those are always going to exist. Is it balanced by moments where you go, hey, he was able to shut that guy down at least for a possession or two?
Yeah, I mean, the one moment I got pretty mad at with LaMelo, or frustrated with the defensive possession, was the time where Saddiq Bey was able to get into the lane and almost draw a flagrant foul on Nick Richards. So at that time, LaMelo, it seems like he could recover pretty easily. And Saddiq Bey, I don't feel like he had the advantage there. But LaMelo, it feels like he's afraid to foul, Doug. Like, that it's so in his mind that he doesn't want to foul. And that has been a problem. All of the fouls, especially early on, it's been a problem with LaMelo the last couple of seasons. What I would hate to see happen is that he's so wary of fouling that he just plays Ole defense and allows Saddiq Bey to get into the paint. And so it's like, all right, even if you don't, let's say you're in the third quarter, you only have 2, you can go ahead and be physical and take that chance, especially if you're in an advantageous spot. But even still, it just might be so in your brain because you've been preaching it and preaching it and preaching it. Don't foul. It felt like he did a little of the hands up thing. Hey, I'm not, putting my hand in the cookie jar. I'm not fouling him here. Do you see me, ref? Do you see me? That's what I noticed on that possession. Yeah, it's just, this is never going to be a strength, at least at this rate. And hopefully Steve Clifford can either do a good job hiding him at times, getting the best out of him. LaMelo does have nice anticipation on steals, especially on passes, but it's all about the discipline and staying home on some of that stuff. We'll see if he can ever body up a guy at the point of attack and really be average to above average to take his game to a different level.
It's a deal with the devil that you have to make. I would rather him in that situation play Ole defense, honestly, because he took himself out of so many games last season in a season in which he only played 36. He fouled out or took himself out of games because he fouled too early and too often. And he did it from a place of, I think, laziness on the defensive end of the floor, or trying to recover because he made a mistake, or sometimes just out of frustration because he made a turnover and then, slapped someone 80 feet from the basket. So I honestly, that's a deal I'm willing to make. If it means you get LaMelo, who can, have a double-double on a night when he can't hit the broadside of a barn, and almost have a triple-double if he had played a few more minutes and snatched a few more rebounds. I'm honestly I just think you have to take that deal, hope that Mark can make up for some of that, hope that some of your other wing defenders get healthy again and can make up for some of that. I don't know. I think there are going to be things that I think we should talk about more with LaMelo this season than his defense, because honestly, I saw a little bit more effort than I saw last season out there on the floor, even if those mistakes are going to be there every once in a while.
Yeah, and I don't want to knock effort by any means. I certainly want that there. And you're right. You do have Mark Williams, who took a big old leap, and we've seen him improve quite a bit. And maybe that's just the defensive mistake eraser. It's nice having him back there, especially if you don't have a strong defensive backcourt. This is where Mark comes in. Now, when you become an elite defensive team, and then you can deploy some nice defensive backcourt players, then yeah, we'll see whatever that looks like. But I never want to see what it looks like too much, because I never want to see LaMelo Ball leave this franchise. And so we'll see whatever happens once you move on from Terry, and then you put that guy next to LaMelo Ball.
Nothing better than a good eraser, by the way. One of those big pink ones. I don't use them very much anymore, so they're such a nostalgic thing. I'm always typing on my computer, but you get the big pink erasers and you scribble it on your paper, and then all that little dust, and it's so satisfying, all that dust sitting on your paper, and you go, whew, and it all flies in the air. It's a beautiful thing.
It went down at the book fair in elementary school. Now, the problem is when you had the different characters, there was just like those erasers sucked when you had the animals and stuff that you tried to erase with. You couldn't get too crazy, but you're right. The big pink erasers or the ones where you could flip, you could just slide out of the case that it was in.
Oh yeah.
That was real good. That was real good. So yeah, nice eraser talk. Mark Williams, big time. Let's do a little more front court fodder, shall we?
Sure.
Brandon Miller, we loved what we saw from him, right? Especially in the fourth quarter, hit big time shots. Isn't going to do anything too crazy. I think that's a little bit of the reason players love having him on the team, because he's not looking to get his as much. Maybe we even want more aggression from him. That could be a storyline as the season goes on for sure. But I thought he played, very well last night. Didn't make any mistakes, and that's what you want from your rookie. Oftentimes you don't get it. Now the question is, this is a team, at least for the first 10 games, that's for sure, that is not going to be at full depth because Miles Bridges isn't playing right now. He's still serving his 10-game suspension for felony domestic violence, and that was implemented over the offseason. So with Miles Bridges only eligible to come back at the first game of the midseason tournament, November 17th, from what I think I remember from the schedule.
That's correct.
Against Milwaukee. So,
maybe.
we can. So right, exactly. We don't even know for sure that it will return. So you can feel comfortable treading water with Brandon Miller, and that's one thing. All right, so that's a question within itself. Can you feel comfortable without Miles Bridges on the court? Now, do we take it a step further? Do we take it to a point where, all right, Brandon Miller played well. PJ Washington played 3 in a pinch, Steve Clifford told us in the post-game press conference, and liked what they did despite not even practicing it. So now you're talking about Brandon Gordon, who played well enough, had 6 turnovers. My question is, does this change things in how you see Miles Bridges integrated back into the offense and the rotation when he's eligible?
Well, if Washington continues the play from that first game and you look over the 10 games and like 7 of those 10 games, he's giving you similar production, not 25 points a game, but if he's giving you similar efficient production, he doesn't do the thing that he's done really his entire career, which is give you 25 points one night and then give you 3 the next night on 4 of 12 shooting. Like if we don't see roller coaster PJ,
you get 3 points on 4 of 12 shooting. That's bad. I don't even know how you do that. That's
can't
tough.
do it on the reg. I'll tell you that much.
You can't.
I was told there would be no math. It's specifically why I started podcasting. Mm-hmm. But if you get that kind of performance from PJ Washington, then he's going to make enough of a case to remain starter, especially if they win ball games. And there's a very realistic chance that they have a winning record coming out of these 10 games because they play Detroit tonight. They play Houston, Indiana, Washington twice, New York and Miami, who they've traditionally competed well against. And so really the games that you're, I would say, significantly worried about are against Dallas, Milwaukee, and maybe Brooklyn, but what's Brooklyn? We don't know yet. So a lot of opportunities to win basketball games. If they do, I just don't see Steve Clifford making a drastic change to put in Miles Bridges in the starting lineup. He could work his way back in there based on his performances off the bench, but I just don't see it if PJ's, because again, PJ gives you stuff on both sides of the floor. If he's rebounding better, then I think, yeah, absolutely, you're comfortable with that rotation. But I'll say they don't have depth issues right now. It's depth apocalypse. Like they are one injury away. It won't matter how well PJ plays. They're one injury away from having some serious problems that will cost them basketball games. Everyone has to stay healthy or that chance to win those games goes out the window.
Yeah, where it goes too far is, at least from a basketball standpoint, nobody needs Miles anymore because Brandon is here. Well, the depth, it would certainly help to have Brandon Miller come off of the bench whenever you want him to and be a 6th, 7th man instead of he's our source of offense and we desperately need him with that second group. And that's what it looks like right now, unless JT Thor can hit some threes and Teo can do a nice job facilitating, which he did. The other thing too, man, I'm not trying to stop the good vibes at all. Atlanta has been a horrific defense. They're not good. Offensively, they are, which is great to see from our defensive unit. That's fantastic. But defensively, they're not very good. And so, do we get another Brandon Miller performance like this? It's maybe even a little bit unfair to ask him to continue to do what he did last night all the time. And so if he does have a few more performances like he did in the preseason, good, not crazy, missing a few more shots, then, this Miles Bridges conversation about does it change anything with him in the rotation? It could be all for naught.
Just from a basketball perspective, this would have been an easy question to answer 2 seasons ago, because you would look at Miles Bridges and PJ Washington and go, Miles Bridges, way more athletic, high flyer, draws attention from defenses, and is a better ISO player. Like, you give him the ball and he can create a shot for himself. And that's something that the Hornets have traditionally and continue to be short on players that can do that. So easy question. Miles starts, PJ goes to the bench. But after last season and the evolution that PJ had in his game, and he showcased it in this game against Atlanta when the three wasn't falling, he could get the ball, take a couple of dribbles, make a couple of moves, and get himself some space in the mid-range or close to the rim and make a shot. And that's not something that he could do 2 seasons ago. Now he can, and I think it does make the question of who do you want to go with there a lot more difficult for Steve Clifford.
Yeah, it feels like, and it's funny because I don't think you're wrong at all. You're focusing more on PJ. I'm focusing more on Brandon Miller, but both are here, right? Both are, going to be affected by this rotation, even Gordon maybe to a certain degree. It did feel like that was the exact right recipe of volume for PJ, and he got the ball in the right spots, and it just, that's what it's supposed to look like. And you're not going to go 12 of 18 every night. You're hoping to take a couple of those made 2-pointers and apply them to beyond the arc. But that's how it's supposed to look, at least, even if the shot doesn't go in as much. And, we'll see if that continues moving on for PJ. All right, one more segment to go. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Don't go to sleep on the Hornets just yet.
We got to bet the buzz again. It didn't go well for anybody. Not me.
Gotta bet the buzz.
I was going to call for you to do it. I didn't know if you wanted to do it in the second segment or the third, but you might just do it both times. Yeah, it didn't go well for me. Doug lost immediately on his parlay. David lost as well, but we come back for a second time. We got 82 of these things to go through, 81 more to go. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy app, and it's the most fun you could have, winning up to 25 times your money this football season. You just select 2 or more players. You can pick more or less on their projected stats, and then you can place your entry. You can test your skills on Prize Picks this football season in the most exciting way. They have quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, an enormous selection of players and stat types. That's what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Before we bet the buzz and before you give us your jingle again, have you seen the trophy that is all the rage? That was, I guess, the Hornets are chipping away at retaining this trophy for the year. Did you see this, Doug?
I know I didn't, and I'll tell you why. Because as most listeners and viewers of the podcast know, I do not live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. And Nashville, Tennessee is in the Atlanta market for some reason, according to the NBA and the blackout rules. And so I couldn't watch this game on League Pass and choose to watch the Hornets broadcast. I was once again subjected to the Bally Plus app and the 7-day free trial. Shouts to that, and to hide my email on iCloud. So I've got the 7-day free trial. I've got to remember to cancel it. But I do this what amounts to 6 or 7 times a year, because I also have to do this for Memphis games. It's ridiculous. I just, rest in hell, RSN. That's all I have to say.
Well, yeah, and by the way, you've been catching a lot more hell recently. I had not seen any hell for you for living in Nashville, but like this past week, you've gotten called out like twice for that. People are angry at you. Yeah, I didn't expect that, but apparently that's become a problem for people in the last week.
People move. It's okay. It's okay. All right. I was born and raised in Gastonia, North Carolina. Now, it's near Charlotte, but it's the same thing.
I'm still a little mad at you, but I've gotten over it. So this trophy, it's a big old pig, Doug, that the Hawks and the Hornets are battling for. It's a hog. We can figure out something, man.
Can I stop you there? I will note that neither the Hornets or the Hawks are a pig. I'll just note that.
That's correct. So in this trophy, Ashley Shamity did a story on this during the broadcast last night. And apparently it's in the NBA Battle Series, the Barbecue Series, the Atlanta Hawks versus the Charlotte Hornets, the Battle of the South. And so if you look at this clip, I was at the game last night, then had to do post game. I didn't see the original clip. But from what I understand, Ashley said whoever wins the series between the Hawks and the Hornets, they get to keep the pig trophy until the next year. And so at least we have it now. I don't know what happens if you tie. I'm not sure. Instead of splitting the baby, you just split the hog. I don't know. But we have a pig trophy that we're fighting for now, Doug. And, well, I'm with it and I want to win it. I don't know why, but I want to.
Well, anytime you give me anything, I want to win it. I mean, that's, it's competition. It's the NBA. It's basketball. It's sports. We want to win it.
You know why? That's because we got that hog in us. Hornets have that hog in them. That's how it is.
This is another example of the NBA begging fans to care about the regular season. This is right in line with all of the stuff that they're doing around the in-season tournament. And it's a little bit of the soccerization of NBA, because soccer does this all the time where they will have trophies. I know in MLS, Nashville, Charlotte, Atlanta, and DC all compete for the Southern Championship. And so, but they have like a whole table where like it's all the teams playing against each other, and whoever wins the table wins this like wrestling belt. And it's super cool, and it gives you something to pay attention to outside of just the regular season standings. I don't know that I'm like totally in on just two teams and one series. And there's not a real rivalry here because I need the players to not like each other. I need somebody to say something, mean about Trae Young, or Trae Young to say something mean about, one of the Hornets. There's not real rivalry here, and there won't be, honestly, until Charlotte gets into a 7-game series with someone. Rivalries are created because you have to play the same team for big stakes over and over, and the game gets more physical, and the game gets nastier and uglier. That's when rivalries are born. The Hornets don't have a rival because they haven't been to the playoffs in 7 years, and they haven't won a playoff series in 21 years.
It's got the makings like it should be a rivalry. Young point guards going at it. They met in the play-in. They're regionally very close to one another. The NFL franchises in each of those cities have a rivalry themselves, being in the same division. We try, but you're right. You got blown out in the play-in series. And Atlanta already kind of made a rival with New York because of that Eastern Conference, because of that Eastern Conference series they had to get to the conference finals. So, yeah, it's a little tough. Hopefully both of these teams can be competitive and have some, fun bouts with one another. That's what I would like to see. Why are you giving me a stank face?
Well, because is Atlanta known for barbecue? Like, this is what this whole thing is about, right? The pig series is like barbecue. Yes. It's like, no, but here's the thing. Like, the NBA, I think it's HQ'd in New York. This is like a total North thing trying to be like, the South, what do they like? Right. Those bunch of hicks, they like the barbecue. So call it a pig trophy. Like, none of it makes any sense. None of this makes any sense.
You are so right. This is so exactly what you might ask a New Yorker to come up with if they were to come up with a Southern trophy. Hey, Charlotte and Atlanta, what should they be fighting for? Barbecue, right? Atlanta's known for it. I mean, okay, probably where are they on the list of barbecue? Like Eastern North Carolina, Texas, Kansas City. I mean, there's a few.
See, Hornets and Mavericks, the Hornets basically knocked the Mavericks out of the playoffs. Now, that could have been a cool pig series. And, Luka, little rotund, maybe somewhat resembles a swine. Okay. I don't know. Could have done a lot with it.
All right. That got dark for Luka Doncic. Luka Hogchich. I tried. Let's move on. Let's bet the buzz here, Doug. What you got for us today?
Yeah, bet the buzz. We're going to bet the buzz. Something new we're doing here on the show. We are partnering with our friends at FanDuel. We're looking at lines. We are betting the buzz. We are drawing ping pong balls out of an old smelly, gross duffel bag. And the ping pong balls have something written on it. And that something indicates something that we have to do to bet the buzz. We're playing for charity. We're playing against each other. Walker's in. David Walker's in. I'm going to have to pull for him today. And we are recording this a little early, so the odds aren't up. So we're going to pull some ping pong balls out of the duffel of doom, and it's going to tell us what to do, but you'll have to pay attention to our Twitter feed at Locked On Hornets to find out what our actual bets are. Now, to recap what happened the last time we did this for the season opener, we all lost. We all lost our dollar bets. I did a parlay. It was immediately broken. You took the over, and both teams decided not to hit any threes. And David Walker, unfortunately, was forced to bet on the Atlanta Hawks. And fortunately, he lost, and the Hornets won. So that's where we stand. We're all at $24 now as we lose money for charity. None of us are sharps, right? I mean, we're not really great at betting. I don't know your history with sports betting, but I'm obviously podcasting every day, so I'm not a millionaire from betting.
Lots of people seek advice from me, and I don't myself partake because I just don't want to lose the money. I just don't want to be involved. And
well, now you're forced.
Yeah, I know. Now I am forced to do it. So, all right.
Okay, here we go, folks.
Review. Here we go.
All right, I'm going to do I'll pull for you first. Rummaging. Okay. I'm rummaging. And number 42. All right. Congratulations.
Okay. I like that. I believe, I don't know who's number 42.
Yeah. Who do you think, as I pull up my rundown here to make sure I know what this number 42 actually means? And what I know it's the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Nerds will understand what I'm talking about there. But number 4, oh my God, I love this. We mentioned this guy earlier in the show. Number 42 was donned by the great former guest on this show, Dave Hoopin Hoppin.
That's the
number 42.
Dave Hoppin Hoopin reference today. Excellent. All right.
So Dave Hoppin is Dave Proppin, meaning you have to make a prop bet on the game. So again, we don't know. Those props haven't come out on FanDuel yet because we were recording this in the afternoon on Thursday. So when those do, Walker will give me his prop bet and I will post it on the Twitter feed. Here we go. I'm pulling for me now. Give me a good one. Got Truth or Daryl. I could do House G Money. That means I get an extra $1 just to bet on the Hornets. It could be number 24, Brandon Miller. That's flip a coin, heads Hornets, tails opponent, bet $1. Never know. Let's see what we pull.
There's so many options.
Ooh, look at this. All right.
It's got to be a good one.
Number 69.
Nice one.
That is. Number 69 means nice, free play. I get to do whatever I want. I can bet whatever I want. I can bet on anyone I want. 69 is the nicest ball we have. All right.
It means you get to do whatever you want.
It's free play. It's nice.
True.
It sounds nice.
Okay.
So I'll let you know what I end up doing on the Twitter feed. Here we go. Pulling for David. You never know what happens when you get the 69.
No, I had no clue. Okay.
All right, finally,
what else
David.
is there?
Number 20. Congratulations to David. He just pulled number 20. Do you recall who donned the 20 for the Charlotte Hornets?
It's my worst sports trivia category, picking who wore what number. So no, I don't remember.
And I think he wore it best, if I recall, in our judgment. And I'm sorry, it wasn't the Hornets. He donned it for the Bobcats, those orange and blue beauties. That was Raymond Felton. Ray's blowout special is number 20. So David will bet on a Hornets blowout win, that 20 or more. So that's the bet that the Hornets have to win by 20 or more. And honestly, as we kind of preview tonight's game, Detroit Pistons, that's not a bad bet. Hornets got a shot.
This is one of the games you would like to pull this basketball out for sure. That's the one. So we'll see what happens in Bet the Buzz. That's how we'll end today's show right here on Locked On Hornets. Thanks again for joining us, making us your first listen, make your second listen game to game NBA, every moment, every top performance, every result, Locked On game to game. NBA has you covered like only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Have a great rest of your weekend. Get ready for some Hornets Pistons basketball tonight. Check out everyhornetsboxscore.com. Also, listen to WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. You can find me there on Wes and Walker. We'll be back with you Monday. Have a great rest of your day.
I listen to WFNZ on the reg.